Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Podcast. Continuing to break things down as we do with Raw and SmackDown, and most recently Night of Champions. And I think a lot of people are in agreement that the product is getting pretty subpar. Um, and we talked about this beforehand, but like this whole Jey Uso and these warning shot things, I do not think belongs on TV. There's enough going on in the world we live in to having Jey say warning shot and pointing his finger and doing any of that. I don't think it's good, being that Jey is popular right now and kids are already doing the yeet stuff, let alone them giving warning shots to people that'll probably get them suspended or expelled from school. So just wanted to get that out of the way. So Raw kicks off obviously with Jey obviously, talking himself up, but it's like Obafemi comes out and kind of all of that bravado kind of goes out the window, because the reality is it took like what? How many F5s to beat Obafemi?
I think
So
it was like 5.
yeah, it was a lot. And so if it took that much to beat Obafemi, I'm pretty sure you could do a dozen spears and it still would not put down the ruler. But yeah, I mean, so even honestly though, it's still at least a good build for the match. I mean, I will say they are getting at least mildly better when it comes to building matches. But obviously there's still plenty of work to be done, because sometimes the championship matches are kind of on the back burner of things going on Raw and SmackDown and stuff. And so I think there's still obviously plenty of room to build when it comes to them building storylines to make these matchups a little bit more believable. Because a lot of them, yeah, I don't know. I mean, for example, so like with all the stuff going on right now, you have the Night of Champions going on, and then you have SummerSlam that is pretty much roughly month and a half, 2 months, in the future, and they're probably going to have shitty builds for most of the matches. And maybe they'll prove me wrong, but we've been watching wrestling for decades, and they kind of run the same play. But sometimes they surprise us though. And so, speaking of surprises, this is my subtle segue. So we've seen Bailey and Lyra tag together for, maybe 6 months or so, maybe a year. And there's always been that looming possibility of tension. And it eventually snapped. And so after losing to Paige and Brie Bella, obviously for the tag team, they had kind of a heartfelt moment. And then I thought it was honestly going to be Bailey that snapped. But what a curveball. What a curveball. What a surprise. And some, like I said, it sometimes they surprise you, sometimes stuff's predictable, but Lyra just goes off hinged.
Oh, definitely. She went crazy.
And so it's interesting now, is that what do they do with this? What does a heel Lyra Valkyria look like? But yeah, and so I definitely think this ought to be interesting, I guess. Just because Lyra's kind of too chipper, and she's really barely over as is. So I don't know if it was, her fandom was kind of at a lull and they needed to change something up, which is never a bad thing. I mean it's been happening since forever in professional wrestling that eventually sometimes you have to do the polar opposite for a performer to see what happens. Um, but so what do what are your thoughts like on like the plans for Lyra? Like, what do you think they're gonna do in regards to her being heel?
Hopefully they don't. Me personally, hopefully they don't screw it up. I, I don't know. I don't really picture her being a heel type. She doesn't give off that heel vibe for a character or for who she is. She seems like too much of a nice person. I was hoping Bailey went heel because Bailey has a very good heel. And I we'll see what WWE does with it. Hopefully WWE doesn't screw it up and hopefully they do something good with it. Maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens on Monday Night Raw. Yeah. That's just
Yeah.
what I think.
Yeah, and I mean I guess not to use Danhausen. You know what? I'm gonna use Danhausen. Very nice, very evil, right? So
Yeah.
so and the reason why most of us, had like more of the thinking Bailey's gonna be heel is because for that little while when she came back, she was kind of split personalitying it. And so that kind of triggers our responses to thinking, okay, well, she's kind of toting the line. And turns out they just kind of leaned her into more of the good character and, you know, brought back the, you know, change of pace, I guess, with Lyra. But yeah, I mean, it is really hard to see her as a heel. Not because, I don't think she doesn't, I don't think that she doesn't have a heel character in her. It's just, how they've presented her and how, I've watched her since the NXT days, and it's just really hard to like, how are they going to pull a rabbit out of their head as far as her being a heel? So,
Agree.
so we've obviously been on this Chad Gable redemption tour, obviously, running the gauntlet as it were for apologies to everybody, and we finally got to the apology for the Alpha Academy. And very heartfelt on Chad Gable's side. Obviously, it's him talking to Tozawa, obviously, and apologizing. And honestly, like him and Chad Gable have been friends since they were kids, so it's like it seems more sincere when he's talking to Otis more than anybody else. But then they get to Maxine Dupree, and she just 180s it and basically is, I guess being the leader of the group, I guess, and basically saying we don't buy your apology, and we don't forgive you and we don't anything. And basically they end up leaving the ring. Obviously Otis stayed in the ring for a hot second and then dropped out of the ring. And I don't know what is going to happen with this. I don't know if we're going to get a match or something with this, maybe, but it's just like it doesn't seem like there's too much of a storyline to brew other than Chad Gable basically being on his kind of redemption tour. But, again, we'll see what happens Monday, because the looming thing, I think, for anybody who likes to watch the background of interviews and stuff in the backstage segments is that you have Maxine Dupree talking to Austin Theory quite a bit in the background of a lot of interviews and backstage segments.
Yes. Plus, with Austin Theory's background, his interviews, she's either in the back or in the car that he's about to get into.
Yeah. So So I think there's definitely something there. Um, but it's like I don't think we need a crossover with the Vision and Alpha Academy though.
No.
And so like that's where it kind of totes the line. Just because the Vision has enough going on right now in other storylines to interject into something else. Um, but I mean, I guess we'll wait and see as we do for Monday and see what happens. Now, there's just a whole lot going on that doesn't matter, and I feel like I'm starting to get this mentality of matches that don't matter don't deserve talking points. And Ethan Page and Dragon Lee does nothing for me. I don't have anything to talk about it. It is just filler matches, and it really does nothing. And honestly, like, and it sucks because I like Ethan Page and I feel like he could be in more compelling storylines and matches than facing, the mid card talent. Ethan Page definitely has more pull for me than Ricky Saints. Not even just because he's a bigger wrestler in general, but I feel like he has more fantasy bookings that could happen than Ricky Saints. And that's probably not just my opinion. That's probably a lot of people.
Agree.
You just kind of look at the careers in parallel, right? I mean, Ricky Saints came from AEW, Ethan Page came from AEW, and we had that brief flux of AEW's back to WWE's or AEW in general switching brands or whatever. And some of them stand out and some of them don't. But I mean, there's still plenty of time, for things to build properly. But it sucks when you go from being a more of a main event talent in NXT and then you get to the big leagues and you're subjected to basically being lower mid card. But I'm hoping that something changes. Obviously, we have an exuberant amount of older talent, and so I feel like they definitely need to start moving in the direction of kind of pushing up younger talent. Just because a lot of the roster is literally 35 to 50 ish, and so I think there has to be at least a small bridging point of the younger talent starting to get more shots in. The next thing we had on Raw was obviously the Io Sky and Liv Morgan nonsense. I don't really have much to say about that, so I'm just gonna move on. So Danhausen's been having these experiments and stuff in the backstage segments, and they are absolute chef's kiss. And so you have JD and Dominic basically confronting Danhausen about the money that are the monies, as Danhausen calls them, and he's like, well, it's spent. And then they're like, spent on what? And he points to this little box of just like random crap, and so JD goes to grab it and gets electrocuted. Oh man. These are segments that are just fun, right? Because a lot of times the backstage segments are very mundane and boring, right? And so like I feel like basically Danhausen right now is, in a matter of speaking, basically I like to call Truthhausen. Because it's that comic relief, right? And I feel like it's a good kind of in the middle of the show to just kind of have something fun, to kind of break up, the storylines and stuff. But so the next we had LA Knight versus Jimmy Uso, and kind of something that started in the back during the beginning of the show. Again, nothing really surprising in regards to this match. Obviously, there was a spot with Solo Sikoa kind of getting on the apron, kind of grinning at Jimmy Uso, followed by a Samoan Spike. And LA Knight's kind of like, well, whatever. And, gives Jimmy a BFT and wins the match. But it's kind of a weird situation, I guess you could say. But yeah, I Solo's kind of floundering right now. We'll just leave it at that, I guess. But
Yeah, he definitely is.
yeah. So we get to the main event of the night, which is Austin Theory and Braun Breaker, the Vision versus the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. And if you didn't like Seth Rollins, you have you might not like him, but how the type of crap he's been doing right now, where he's getting underneath Braun Breaker's skin without even really being involved in these matches. Obviously this one was a little bit different, but Seth Rollins is living rent free in Braun Breaker's head.
Oh, 100%.
And so it's absolutely glorious to kind of watch how things unfold in regards to Seth Rollins and the Vision and everything. And I mean, honestly, the Vision's kind of imploding anyways, but I feel like this is
either they show up and they get hurt and they're out again.
Yeah, I mean it's very injury stricken. But yeah, so Street Profits obviously get the dub and are the new World Tag Team Champions. And they said for the fourth time, right? And I feel like the Street Profits have been Tag Team Champions more than 4 times, but if it's only been 4, man, it's kind of dragged out a little, because I feel like they've been in the tag team picture for well over 10 years. Well, at least probably about 10 years. And it's crazy to think they've only won 4. But yeah, so definitely nice to see the Street Profits back on track. And I think there's kind of an unwritten kind of cordial thing with them and Seth Rollins. I don't think it's a long time plan that's going to come out. I think it is more or less situational. And so good on the Street Profits for taking advantage of the situation.
Yeah, they've been tag team champions a total of 5 times.
Good old 5-time. So move over to SmackDown and PSA for what it's worth. The people that sit there and leak all of the crap about shows that were recorded at a certain time and obviously not for our viewing until later, fuck you guys, okay? If you're there, that's fine. That's cool. You get to see things and that's great. But don't ruin it for the rest of us, right? Because, we've had double tapings here before, and, I've picked up people from these events and they know that I'm a WWE fan, and they don't spoil anything for me. And so poo on you for you freaking Europeans to ruin it for the rest of everyone else, because there was basically almost to the point where the whole full show was leaked. And you wouldn't want that done to you, so don't do it for anybody else. That's my PSA. So the show kicks off obviously with Trick Williams, who is absolutely on fire right now. It was cool that he got to kind of give a couple minutes to talk about his recent marriage to one Lash legend. And I thought that was kind of a cool moment to just kind of be, happy for one, like have a segment that has nothing to do with professional wrestling and just he's like, yeah, I got married. Cool. Congratulations. Now, so we basically had the match 2 weeks ago between Ricky Saints and Carmelo Hayes to determine the number one contender for the United States Championship, and obviously Ricky Saints won. And so Ricky Saints comes out, and this dude is just a goofball. Okay, like he doesn't have any aura. The only thing absolute about Ricky Saints is he's boring. And I feel bad because again, these people that have come over from other wrestling promotions, or they get the call up from NXT, and their run is nothing short of a dead bird. And so like he's out there obviously, tries to get a couple cheap shots in, yada yada, but it's just not that entertaining. And it's crazy to think that Ricky Saints has been wrestling probably, dramatically longer than Trick Williams. But in professional wrestling, you either got it or you don't. And Trick got it, and Ricky Saints just doesn't. But so our first match of the evening was B-Fab and Michin versus Tiffany Stratton and Alexa Bliss. Kind of a weird pairing, but not terrible. And so we get this match, and obviously Jade gets involved. Go figure. I mean, it's to the point where like these 3 people groups like are all just heels. Like I want to like where's the 3-piece group with the exception of like the New Day that are gone? Like that were actually good guys or good girls. Cuz like it seems
Totally
like
agree.
so it seems like tag teams when it's 2 people, they are just jolly and they are fun and they're tag teams, and that's what they are, and they're usually more face than heel. But it's like I feel like every like 3 to 4 person group, or 3 to 4 to 5 in some cases, like are just heels. And it's because when you have an extra person, you have the numbers advantage. And if anything anyone has learned from WWE is that they use the term numbers game pretty much about as much as they say ring the bell. Okay. And so yeah, it's I don't think I've ever, with the exception of the New Day, honestly seen a group that's a face that's more than one. But I digress. So we get I don't want to say a return of Rey Fenix, but I feel like he hasn't been doing a whole lot with WWE, doing more with AAA. Obviously capturing the AAA Cruiserweight title not too long ago. And it's nice to see a Cruiserweight match for a title on the main roster. Obviously, it's a AAA championship, but I feel like, some of the champions that are champions in AAA are honestly also, roster spots on the, on WWE. Obviously, you have Dominic, who doesn't do shit with his title, but he's holding one. And it's nice to see, them actually have an actual match for a title in regards to AAA. And again, Cruiserweight, they're built different, okay? Like, Cruiserweight wrestlers, whether they're luchadors or they're just wrestlers in general, like, are just built different. The moveset is different. The speed is always different. The technicality wrestling is different, and everything is just different. And honestly, like, this match didn't disappoint, obviously. And Nathan Frazier is an absolute star. Yes, he's mid-card, but like he's a very talented mid card. And I don't think he's ever going to be like a top champion, but I don't think that will diminish his career in any way. Obviously because him and Axiom are just, it's never stop moving. And I mean, and the crap they do is freaking amazing. But so we get LA Knight coming out and basically, and I love how they're in the backstage segment. They're like, "Well, you're not even on this show." I'm like, that hasn't stopped anybody from moving around shows, for one.
Nope.
But so we get LA Knight coming out and basically calls out Solo Sikoa, basically like, you know, the whole attack on Jimmy Uso, and Solo had a lot of valid points. And obviously earlier in the show, obviously Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa basically were like, yeah, we're out, we're done, because in their championship match a couple weeks ago, basically Solo got involved when they asked him not to, and so now MFTs are officially over. Now I don't know what Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa will do, but now Solo is legitimately Solo. And so him and LA Knight obviously exchange, you know, bits and everything. And like I said, Solo had a lot of valid points in regards to basically, you know, the enemy of my enemy can be my friend. Even goes to the extent of using LA Knight's phrase, yeah. And so I think there's something that's going to happen in these two guys that basically have a common enemy. And if WWE has taught us anything, is that this shit's predictable. That there's going to be some kind of pairing with these two, you know, whether it's, you know, we're not friends kind of mentality, but we have a common enemy. And yeah, so I mean, I guess we'll figure out more what happens on Friday, and I guess we'll see what, because they're gonna have to really explain this storyline and this exchange, because they can't just leave it hanging, just because there's something here. At least I feel it. Like, what are your thoughts in regards to this, like, Solo LA Knight, like, weird possibility of a pairing?
I think it'll be pretty interesting to see those two team up. Yes, I know they had history with each other because of the bloodline, but I think it'll be pretty cool to see those two team up. Pretty much go after Roman Reigns and the bloodline together, make their own little group. Who knows?
Right. I mean,
It all depends on how WWE rolls with it, but I think they'll do something with it because they're not doing much with LA Knight. I think it's pretty sad. LA Knight has a lot of talent there. He's a good talent. He got a lot of
yeah. And
stuff you can do.
And they just keep shuffling him around too. Like it's like storyline to storyline to storyline to storyline, and it's like, you know, he's over, like way over, and it's just like you do nothing with it. And if you've pretty much watched, and there's been a lot of chatter in regards to, if you're over authentically, you know, from the fans, they'll get rid of you.
Yep. 100%.
And that is from the mouth of one Karrion Kross. And because it happened, and it happens. And it's like they want to shove down your throat whoever they want to shove down your throat. But if you're authentically over, they're just ready to push you out the door, and I think that's bad business. But
100% is bad for business.
Yeah. So our next match of the evening was Paige versus JC Jane, and I look forward to what they do with JC Jane in regards to Fatal Influence and all of that. Because I know there's potential. And I've watched JC Jane in NXT for the better part of 3 or 4 years before she finally got a call up to the main roster. And I definitely see that there's something there, whether she's by herself or she's in a group, however they want to package it. But obviously Paige does win, obviously being in her home country, obviously they pretty much always win.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I mean, I like that JC's getting in her reps on the main roster, and again, look forward to what they do with her, because I, without a doubt, she will be top champion. Because the potential's there, the work ethic's there, which you couldn't say about some people that are actually champions. So, um, so we've witnessed Danhausen and his antics of people getting electrocuted and all this fun stuff, and he comes out with The Miz and Kit Wilson and the white electrocution hair and the spiked hair and the awesome, and toxic, like just good comic relief, man. I love Danhausen. But ends up, Los Garza ends up basically, having issues because they lost money on the Knicks because Danhausen uncursed the Knicks, and people are wanting their money, and ends up with him obviously going out there, and then obviously Matt Cardona, aka Zack Ryder, comes out to basically help Danhausen and ends up with a match. And in typical fashion, I believe it was Angel Garza, I believe, on the top rope, and gets the pyro from the ring post or whatever, and ends up falling off, obviously. Then Danhausen gets his finisher, in which I don't even know what his finisher is, honestly. But and gets the victory. And man, Danhausen is growing on you.
He's all right.
Well, I mean, he's like 80% entertainment, 20% wrestler. So, so
True.
But so our next match we had was Jade Cargill versus Chelsea Green. Obviously didn't mount to much. Obviously in the match, Jade gets the win quick. Tiffany Stratton obviously tries to come out and help, and it just really all for nothing. But so recently we had the fallout between Kiana James and Julia, and we finally got the match between the two. And pretty standard match for the most part. And then obviously we see the emergence of Blake Monroe, another NXT call up that's kind of floundering, and basically ends up helping Julia win. But obviously, yeah. So trying to figure out what they're going to do with this, because now we're starting to develop quite a large women's roster. And so now they really need to start kind of getting some good storylines going, getting some new championship matches, different people, as it were, instead of the same round robin that they've been doing for the last couple years in regards to some of the secondary titles. but we shall see. So the end of the show ends up with obviously Cody Rhodes, followed by Gunther, followed by Sammy, followed by Jay, followed by Oba, and just a whole implosion happens. That's about all I can say about it, because that's just what it was. It was chaos, as it were. But so Night of Champions, not so Night of Champions, but it's the night of a few champions. But so we had the King of the Ring final kick off with Oba Femi versus Jey Uso. And to quote the music of one Vince and Kennedy McMahon, no chance in hell was Jey Uso beating Oba Femi.
Oh, hell no.
I knew he wasn't going to win. He had about a pie level of chance, right? He had a good 3.1467 35. Just no chance. And dude, Oba's a beast, dude. I mean, you have to acknowledge just the absolute beastity of Oba Femi. And for being a guy that's, I mean, he moved through the ranks in NXT pretty quickly, obviously winning the breakout tournament, turned that into winning the North American title, and then followed by a couple reigns as NXT champion, and just making moves, man, on the main roster. And it's been a change of pace to see someone as dominant as Oba Femi, right? Because before, when you had Brock, that was kind of that thing. And then when you had the Bronson Reeds, and then the big shows of old, you had a plethora of other big guys. And it was kind of a lull for a while in regards to having, like a top tier guy, a guy that was ridiculously dominant. And dude, Oba Femi is moving up, and I think
he's moving up pretty quick.
I pretty much, I think most people are knowing that he's going after Roman.
Oh, 100%. That'll be a great match.
And I think Roman loses. There's nothing that, when I look at the tail of the tape, do I look at Oba and do I look at Roman, and do I see Roman beating Oba Femi?
Oh, hell no. The only way I can see him winning is if he has, like, the Usos interfere or in Solo interfere, like he did in the past with, not Solo. Fuck.
What, Jacob?
Yeah, there we go.
So many to choose from. So many.
Yeah, having those guys interfere like he did in the past when he was part of the Bloodline as a heel, and having the Bloodline interfere in his matches. I mean,
yeah, so
he might that, or we get Brock Lesnar interfering.
Yeah, because I was waiting for him to come out or do something, and it just never happened.
I didn't see Brock Lesnar showing up there. I don't see them paying him enough money just to fly all the way over there just to fuck him up on
be involved for 5 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so
I mean, see him being involved in a title match.
I mean, yeah. Otherwise, we get him.
It'll make a lot more sense.
Yeah, I mean, he's big business, and so
SummerSlam is a big pay-per-view.
Yeah. So, but honestly, congratulations to not only the ruler of WWE, but now the King of the Ring, Oba Femi. So,
oh yeah, King Femi.
And man, I don't even think that crown fits his head.
Probably not. I don't think he ever put it on.
I don't think he put it on. I think he's just walking with it. And
probably.
I wonder what gear they're gonna give him for. Like, is he gonna Is he gonna come out like King Booker?
style. Yeah, like King Booker style. I hope.
Yeah.
I hope.
I hope not. I hope not. But
Don't get me wrong. I like Booker T, but his whole King Booker was kind of the boringest Booker T gimmick I ever seen.
yeah. Yeah. So, but I mean, I definitely look forward to seeing him come out and do what Obafemi does, and and maybe he waits a couple weeks to make his decision on which champion. But I definitely think it's Brock is getting involved in some capacity. Let's just say that. But now over to the other side of the tournament, to the Queen of the Ring tournament between Io Sky and Liv Morgan. And before the match, good old Danhausen, Curtis, Liv Morgan,
Cursed
and
her after being slapped after she slapped him in the face.
yeah. So, but I take nothing away from Io Sky though. Io Sky is definitely a generational talent, and a global talent at that. And so obviously Io Sky does get the win. Obviously now, congratulations to one Io Sky being Queen of the Sky. And so, and I love that she did not waste any time, after her little interview to basically say, guess what, Liv, I'll see you at SummerSlam. And just calling it like it is. And so
I didn't see her going for Rhea anyways.
no, I mean, in Rhea's on this injury thing anyways, but it's like the injury doesn't even matter because I mean, Liv hasn't defended a title since she won it. So
And say Rhea's defended hers more than Liv.
all it takes is one time, and you've already done it more than she has. She's had the title for literally over 2 months, and she's done nothing with it. And she's to the point where she's absolutely obnoxious. And I get it, that's the heel type of mentality, but like, it's garbage. I don't want to hear her. I'm the greatest women's champion of all time. If you defended it once in a while, but you don't, they have absolutely pillaged and downgraded her, and basically she's a champion that does not matter. And it's the same recipe and the same thing they did with Jade Cargill. And it's like, you can't talk about anything about dominance until you defend your title, because I mean pretty much any commentator, whether it's Vic Joseph, Booker T, Corey Graves, Michael Cole, Wade Barrett, whatever that guy's name is, Jerry Steratore, whatever his name is. But
I can't think of his name.
But like, I think Jerry Steratore, I think that's actually the referee guy. But but I mean, they all say the same thing is that you're not a champion until you defend it. You're not a true champion until you defend it. And right now she's basically a placeholder. And she only has it because Naomi wanted to go make some Usi babies, okay? Like
big gym babies.
Yeah. And so that's the only reason.
Got all in that.
Hey man, I wonder if he said yeet when he was done. But anyway, sorry. Total rabbit. Sorry.
No. You're the one. He had one finger up and then the other one, yeet.
He's like, I acknowledge you. Sorry. Sorry, Naomi. I don't mean to be gross, and sorry, Jimmy. I love you, Jimmy.
They'll probably laugh.
Don't attack me. Now, the next match we had was the cage match between Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, and man, this did not disappoint.
No.
And my conundrum that I was really looking forward to is the return of Bronson Reed. And I
That's what I
thought,
was looking for.
like in my head, I'm watching this whole match, and then they have like the towards the end of the match, they have the where Braun's trying to get out and Seth's choking him by the door and everything, and then obviously slams the door. But like, I really was like, man, when is Bronson Reed going to show up? And just didn't. And that was my only disappointment in this match because it was an absolute barn burner. It was an absolute banger. I wish they would thin out their blood capsules more. Because it looked like Ultimate Warrior face paint. It did not. It was pretty rough. Like it literally looked like his kid was painting his face with finger paint. Okay, blood was not believable. It just wasn't. We've seen a lot of
space very long,
and we've seen a lot of blood matches. Okay, like and that just wasn't it. Like somebody mixed the chemicals wrong. But all in all, obviously Seth Rollins does get the win, and I think it makes sense for Seth Rollins just to move on. He's beat him 3 times now. Like, be done with it. Move on. Because Seth is top tier. He does not need to be lowering his abilities to deal with the vision stuff. But they're going to keep running the vision stuff. Because that's the trope. That's the recipe. That's the thing they do all the time. It's predictable. But you know, we already have Logan basically on the shelf. We have Austin Theory doing not really that good of work. Braun Breaker's still running on a full tank of gas. I take nothing away from him, but I feel like the vision stuff is holding him back.
It is. I think he just needs to do things on his own. I think he needs to branch out away from the group and do his own thing. Just leave the group to Austin Theory and one shitty ass Logan Paul.
Strogan Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Paul.
Yeah. And it's like, what are they doing with Bronson Reed? I mean, he has to be cleared at some point. I mean, I feel like all the clips you see, you feel like he should be fine now.
I'd rather see Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker together.
Yeah, I mean,
they're both 2 powerhouses.
Yeah, I mean, but like the only problem is Bronson Reed. He only got into the tag team stuff is because he kind of had to. He's a singles guy through and through. Bronson Reed is a singles guy through and through. Like
true.
And so, I mean, but it's just that it's such a kerfuffle right now because you have no Bronson Reed, you have an injured, I can't wipe my ass Logan Paul, and then you have Braun Breaker, and then you have no Paul Heyman because yeah. And so, I mean, the group is a mess. And that's putting it generous. Okay.
I would say this group is falling apart faster than any other group in WWE history.
Yeah. I mean, there's still the what was it? At least it's like continuing to go on. If you want to go down to like the least group together, it was the group with Hulk Hogan and Macho Man. It was like the Power something or other.
Oh yeah.
I
remember that one.
They had one match. so
True.
they're not falling apart as bad, and it's definitely, but it's like, but these injuries are just their injuries are plaguing them, and it's like it's first was Braun, and then he came back, and then Bronson Reed got hurt, and then Logan Paul joined the group, and then he got hurt. It's this group is falling apart. They need to postpone, any plans. Let Braun Breaker do Braun Breaker things, and go from there.
Bronson Reed things.
Yeah, and so it's unfortunate, but I feel like the pivot needs to be kind of putting things more on hold. But that's just me. I've only been watching wrestling since I wasn't allowed to watch it. I don't know anything. So,
I've been watching wrestling for a fuck since like I think 90, 96, 97.
yeah. So basically, like 28 years. Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
You know, so it's easy.
I got my
to-
history under my belt.
Yeah. So it's like we all know how this should play out, and like and all the fans, we're all on the same freaking page too. That's the kicker. It's like the whole WWE universe is privy to what's going on. We're not stupid.
yeah.
We're not ignorant. Like TKO is like missionary position, the same thing over and over and over again. So, you know, they're not creative. They're as creative as ChatGPT says they should be. Ooh, hot take. But but yeah, so anyways. So next match of Night of Champions was Trick Williams versus Ricky Saints, and
I'm just gonna say when that match came on, I kind of just changed it. I didn't want to watch it because I knew it was gonna be boring. Nothing against Trick Williams. I like Trick Williams.
yeah.
It's just I knew that match is just gonna be a dull Z match. I just got up and got. I was gonna say I was pretty much I forgot the show came on during the day.
Yeah.
I was at Applebee's at the time, and I looked up and I seen it was on. And right when that match came on, I just told them to kind of change the channel.
You're like, is the
They actually did. They put on some soccer for me. I'm like, I'd rather watch that.
Can we change it to the WNBA?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm not trying to be mean, but I am. But I'm honest, okay? If there's anything that I've been consistent at in this 126 episodes, is I am honest. Sometimes brutally honest, sometimes too honest, but I am honest nonetheless. I do not hold back.
Kind of the same way.
Because guess what? It's our podcast. We do what we want. If you don't like it, change the channel. Go
somewhere else.
If you wanted the Flower Power WWE podcast, you can go find it, but that's not us. so we lock down, okay? So
we lock down, we lay the smack down.
Exactly. People's elbow. Yeah. So, but obviously Trick Williams gets the win. No real surprise there. I mean, Trick is on a different level right now. I mean, I honestly would put him more over than Cody Rhodes right now.
Agree.
Because Cody is basically John Cena 2.0. And he is just the yes man, the suit and tie man. Like, it's like if John Cena and Ric Flair had a baby. There's Cody. Okay. The yes men wearing suits, except for actually, you know what? I don't even want to degrade Ric Flair like that because he's a limousine riding, okay? Rolex wearing, okay? Yeah, so I won't even know. Cody, you do not get the nod to even be mentioned in the same as Ric Flair. So I recant my statement. but like I'm trying to think of who else I can compare against it, but you know, I don't know. If Adam Pearce and John Cena had a baby, there we go. That's you know what? Sorry, Adam. You're now the forever mentioned. Cody is your brain baby. Anyways. So the next match we had of the night was an actual championship match with Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill, and I love the rise and the rise, the fall, the rise, and the fall again of one Jade Cargill. she's doing a lot of things right, but like she's still kind of taking L's.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of 50-50 at this point, which again, she still has time, right? Like I dogged you before, and then I gave you praise, and now I'm gonna dog you again. And then, down the road I'll praise you again. Again, honesty. This is an
We'll see
honest
about it.
this is an honest podcast. We are going to critique you based on what we see, not what the WWE Unreal crap says in the background, which season 3 is coming out, so this ought to be another freaking flop.
Oh,
But
yeah.
let's show behind the scenes. Like, it's one thing.
It's ruining the imagination for young kids.
New fans,
that
yeah.
watch. Yeah, the new fans. It's so stupid.
It's one thing to have a documentary about a wrestler's career, or building a bridge, or build a skyscraper. We'd love to see the background of that. But I don't want to see the whole shebang of how they do things. And then it's like, us fans that have been fans for more than a decade will say, like, we're like, yeah, we already knew the shit. We didn't need to subject to have a documentary to be like, this is what goes on. Well, no shit, we already know that.
Yeah, no, duh.
The new fans, the younger generation, I mean, they're gonna be like, oh well, this is stupid. And they're gonna watch it because they're basically they want to soak up as much WWE as they can. And there's nothing wrong with that.
That, or they'll watch it, be like, "Yeah, I'm done with WWE with this crap."
Yeah, I mean, if you're just basically revealing what's behind the curtain, I mean, like, it's freaking Wizard of Oz all over again. But I just think revealing what's behind the scenes just kind of ruins the somewhat sincerity of the the brand. But Vince wouldn't have done these. Okay.
No.
For the record, Vincent Kennedy McMahon would not do these stupid documentaries about showing what's behind the gorilla position. Okay. He does a lot of documentaries, and some obviously are not so good for him, but WWE has a vault of plenty of wrestler histories and rivalries and stuff like that. And those are great because those are just kind of a throwback to the past, and those are fun. But he would never do a documentary saying, well, this is what we do behind the scenes. That's bad business. But I digress. We do a lot of digressing, by the way. We might as well call it the Lockdown Digression Podcast. But the Lock Digression Podcast. So we get to the main event of main event of Night of Champions, and we had the triple threat between Cody Rhodes, Gunther, and Sami Zayn. And dude, this match did not disappoint. Okay,
it was probably the best match of the night.
I mean, easily the best. And there was a lot of twists and turns. There was a lot of finishers that happened, blah, blah, blah. And long story short, obviously, Sami does get the win. And so now for the first time, the underdog that Sami Zayn has been portrayed most of his career is now the undisputed WWE champion. So take that to the bank, okay? Congratulations, Sami. And well-deserved. And, and people are chirping online about, well, what about LA Knight? Well, what about LA Knight? Okay. Sami's been grinding, doing pretty much anything he can do to keep a job. Okay. Whether it was bloodline stuff or it was gimmick changes.
Him and Johnny Knoxville's shit.
Yeah. I mean, the truest definition of hard work pays off is Sami Zayn winning the championship. Okay. Because
well deserve it.
Yeah. I mean, and I hope they at least let this play out for a while. But if anything we've learned in 30 years of watching professional wrestling is that SummerSlam he will face either Gunther or Cody Rhodes. That's not a prediction. It's just a spoiler, dude.
Only thing I can say is they better let him keep the title a lot longer than Jey Uso did when he held the world title. Because Sammy
Yeah.
deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's and the funny thing is like we talked about last week, is that Cody winning the title was about finishing his dad's story, right? And yeah, it was cool when Cody did it, but like they shoved Cody Rhodes down our throat for freaking ever since he won the first time, and and that's all well and good, but like we're all saying we're done with Cody. Move on. There's other matches, other champions to be had. You know what? And it's like, guess what, Gunther? Move on. Go do something else. Cody, go be a yes man and back. Okay, like
Go
go.
for the undisputed, they're not undisputed, the US title or tag titles.
Yeah, I
Do
mean, I
something.
just I take a
some time
break.
off.
Yeah, I mean, take a break, dude. I mean, and it's like this. I mean, we're just like, it's not that we don't hate you or dislike you. It's just we don't like the position they've put you in, to the point where it's like it's the same. What do you want to talk about? Like it's boring, it's stale, it's mundane. We are still rooting for black hair heel Cody. So take some time off, reboot, go do your podcast, go drink your Wheatley vodka, whatever you do, just take a break, because there's like so much going on in the men's division in regards to the championships. So like let some of the other stuff play out. Let Sammy get some dubs, get some wins, work his way till at least Survivor Series before you do anything like take the title from him or whatever. And just let him be the star for once. Okay? We don't need you coming out and all the bullshit of we want to talk about. Or CM Punk going, isn't it a great day to be alive? And whatever, wherever you're at. And it's like, we need these gimmick men out for a bit and let the rest of them shine.
Agreed.
Because, LA Knight needs some shine still. I would love to see LA Knight versus Sami Zayn at SummerSlam.
That'd be nice.
I mean, or at Survivor Series or Money in the Bank or whatever. Maybe LA Knight wins Money in the Bank. I just want things to like refresh, it, and let new stories develop, let new title contentions happen, because it's just been the same stale, mundane, vanilla pudding, product. And it, obviously they're trying to like switch things up, obviously, with, the Lyra thing and, Sammy winning the championship, the Street Profits regaining gold to bring back some prestige to the tag team division. I think it's weird that the Viking Raiders are the AAA tag team champions. I think that's just kind of weird. It doesn't make any sense. I didn't even know they even were on the company still.
Yeah, they've been doing mostly like house shows and stuff.
Yeah. So, but we will do as we do. We will wait and see, and we'll put a pin in this. No Frederick to engage in my pin drop, but this is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.